Hi, without diminishment subscribers. I'm Alexander Brown. I am the co-founder, managing editor here at WD. I'm also the director of the National Citizens Coalition, former host on Juno News, writer, communicator, campaigner, jack of all trades, master of none. We are thrilled to be bringing more video content to you, now on YouTube and on Substack and in the Substack app. And in doing so, we're very excited to announce the start of our leadership series. We have a interesting proximity to some real talent out west, across the country, but out west in particular. And with the BC Conservative Leadership Contest in full swing right now and being decided this spring, we thought it'd be the perfect opportunity for you to get to know the candidates. And one of them, our first guest, I'm excited he's our first guest because he's a lovely guy, is Harman Bhangu, MLA, transportation critic, is a mainstay out here, has been through the wars with the BC Conservatives, the good times and the bad, and he's doing a really terrific job, and I think you'll enjoy this chat. And so if you do, and I hope you do, like and subscribe on YouTube, on the Substack. You know, the more you support us, the more we can do. And so thank you so much for being here. Thanks for watching. Enjoy this chat. Hey folks, Harman Bhangu joins us, popular MLA for Langley-Abbotsford, candidate for the BC Conservative leadership. Harman, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on, Alexander. It's always a pleasure and honor. Speak to the people directly.
Yes, it's important, and we're thankful to have you here on our Substack and on YouTube. Harman, one of the topics of the day for us, we're recording this on Monday, we'll probably air it on Wednesday. You were at the Jamil Jivani Restore the North tour. I saw so many videos coming out from that. I thought your comments were terrific, but there was also a little bit of some interruption, to say the least. Maybe tell our listeners about how that experience was.
So at SFU, it was just a handful of people, and one person was in the room acting like they were one of the people there to listen to Jamil and others speak, but they ended up being one of the protesters. But Jamil handled it fine, and everything went smooth there. But at UBC, it was a little bit of a hiccup. We got there, we had heard there was a group of protesters that had gotten into the room where we were going to speak. They had thrown feces and urine all over the place, and they had to be cleaned. And we were just held off down by the parking lot area till it was safe to go in. So we're not getting things thrown at us. We weren't afraid of the crowd or anything, but no one wants feces and urine thrown at them, right? Like, that's just disgusting. No,
that's like you're at a Mexican soccer game or something. I've never even heard of that one at UBC.
Yeah, so then it was really good. The staff there, the security guards, and some of the students calmed the situation down. We were able to enter the room. We spoke. There was a lot of banging on both sides of the room as we were trying to speak. But then it's, I guess they got tired and they didn't realize we weren't going to back down. We were going to carry on with the show. So they left, and when we were leaving, there was no issues.
Good. And the best thing to do is power through. I've been heckled on stage a time or two, and it's temporary. It's more important that you get to talk to your folks and advocate for the issue at hand. I've spoken at UBC myself, and there were no protests then, so I'm almost wondering if we need to step our game up, because maybe you're just...
I just feel like everyone is sick of this cancel culture, Alex. Yeah. I've grown up here my whole life, and it's insane to me how people want to literally cancel people out of society. Whatever happened to lending out the olive branch and people evolving as human beings over life? It's like we've gotten so cynical and we just go and attack and attack and attack. And we've forgotten what this country was really rooted in: free speech and being able to discuss ideas and actually thoroughly come up with maybe a medium ground somewhere, or maybe agree to disagree. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's deeply unfortunate, especially considering, and it's not as if anyone in that room was a radical. That was a group full of respected candidates. You yourself, a sort of center-right, sensible guy, the proud second-generation Canadian product of the trucking industry. I don't know what we're yelling at. And yet Hassan Piker was at UBC and no one protested him. And that's a character.
See, this is the thing, right? We're open to hearing other sides. Yep. We'll listen to you. We'll discuss it. We'll have a little debate back and forth.
But we won't throw pee and feces at you.
Exactly. Like, they're literally trying to silence others. And, I'm a person of color, Alexander. Like, I'm a Canadian. And I'm going to stand up for what this country was founded on. They're accepting to me, my family, a lot of the Christians here. I don't think it's wrong to say this country was based on Christian values. That is completely fine.
Yeah.
And I think we should be proud of it, because that form of Christians welcome people of my background. Let us come here, take part in society, have religious freedom, take part in our religious events, and we back and forth. We want to explore each other, get to know one another. I think we had come to a great place in society till literally the NDP and Liberals came in power and just, we went back 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, because you're born and raised in Surrey, if I'm not mistaken. You are a proud second-generation Canadian. I mean, how do your sort of core values culturally manifest in your vision for rebuilding the province of British Columbia? Because I say this as I worry about what's gone on, immigration-wise, or when it comes to what we're even offering newcomers, in the sense that we're offering limited pathways, practically, to basement apartments and to limited prosperity. It's how do we do right
it's a
by
pathway.
Yeah.
It's a pathway to modern day slavery nowadays.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think of if my mom and dad came here with 2 kids, and I was born here, and I don't know if they'd be able to succeed and accomplish what they did. Look at me. I'm in this legislature. I'm in the building, and people want to say that we're a racist society, we're not accepting. I totally do not go down that path, and I actually believe the opposite of that. I think Canada is one of the most accepting places in the earth. You can work hard and you can succeed. And that's the type of values I want to bring back to this country. We need to get back to the basics. We need to get kids ready for the next level of education, not indoctrinate them with all these programs with SOGI 1, 2, 3. And, young kids, they're going to grow up and develop to be whatever they're going to be. I have a son. He's 7 years old now. If I had gone by the notion that this education system and society is telling me, my son would be a dinosaur right now. He'd be going to school and biting kids, and I would say, you know what, that's what dinosaurs do. But of course, that was not the path forward. He's imaginative, young, creative, exploring his mind.
Yeah. No, I identified as a fire truck for 6 months, when I was 4 years old. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, you have campaigned for and advocated for abolishing sort of some of these the SOGI, the ESG programs, DEI, in favor of merit-based hiring. So you're a man after our own hearts here. How would you implement that shift in British Columbia's public sector if you were to become the BC Conservative leader?
DEI needs to be dismantled and gone forever. We had gone to a place in society where merit mattered. Your hard work, your ability, your skills mattered. And every employer coming from business, running of my family business, that's what I look for. If someone has experience, the ability to get in there and perform right away, I think that's how hiring practices usually work. And we're doing a disservice to our youth. We're not giving them the real facts, how society really works. There is no safe spaces in the workplace. There is none of that. You're based on what you produce for your employer, and we need to get back to that. And ESG has done, and I mean DEI and ESG and all these programs have nothing but caused division and just created the hatred that we're seeing right now. Because someone, I'm married to a white woman, and if she was to go into a job and I found out she was more qualified and there was someone of color, that's concerning, Alex. That is very concerning. Because when it's public sector work, these are the positions we expect to be filled at the toppest of the top level. We don't expect delays out of our public service. You're getting government tax dollars. They're getting your and my tax dollars. We want to see production, and we need to move towards that or trend towards it. Otherwise, we're going down a real bad downward spiral right here.
Yeah, well said. And I think of as well, you put out a strong statement on Sunday for International Women's Day where you spoke about defending women's spaces. So you're also sort of, on the frontier there on saying true things about these cultural issues. Why do you think that's so important?
It is very important. Forever, I went to school, I learned about biology, I learned about, female parts, male parts, and now all that's out the door. It's complete madness, Alexander. What are we doing to our youth? What are we doing to society? This is going to be very detrimental, and it's going to lead to more mental health issues like we're seeing right now. We need to take this seriously, and we need to change course in our school systems. They need to get back to the basics. We need writing, reading, problem solving. We need all that. But this social constructs of certain people need to leave our education system.
Yeah, no, not just affirm every temporary moment. That
Yeah.
already a difficult
Like I have
time.
a daughter. She's 5. She's going to be playing sports soon. I don't want to worry about her having to compete with men. It is completely unnecessary. And now going to school, like, you heard the notion where you got to create more washrooms or have inclusive washrooms in public spaces. No, women's washroom is for women because it's all about privacy and comfortability. We need to respect women.
Yeah, nicely said. Harman, culture matters to young conservatives. And when we say culture, we're not just talking about pet projects. BC's woes, Canada's as well, so much of it can be perhaps attributed to a kind of spiritual misalignment at this point on what creates alienation, a scarcity mindset. When it comes to certain of the big cultural issues, the one that without diminishment we like to talk about, one is certainly DRIPA, public land use, taking an inch and how that tends to lead to miles. And even now concerned homeowners are wondering about the ground beneath their feet. Where do you stand on DRIPA? Where do you stand on British Columbia's kind of unique to the free world public land use issue? And can folks count on you to have your support there?
I will be repealing DRIPA day one. We need certainty for resource sectors or development and everything else. And also, I want to highlight something very important. The premier we have right now, David Eby, he was the Attorney General back in 2021 when the Interpretation Amendment Act was passed. And I'll give you a timeline of this. October 2021, John Horgan was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer. David Eby was Attorney General. He had the utmost importance to carry out every bill, scrutinize it, make sure when they're presenting them, they're thoroughly vetted. November 17, 12 p.m., state of emergency is declared. The floods, the atmospheric river. A lot of MLAs are hightailing it back to the ridings, help their constituents, which rightfully so they should do. That same day, hour and 50 minutes later, 1:50 p.m., David Eby walks into the legislature, into the chamber, and puts through the Interpretation Amendment Act 2021 8.1. And that is what cracked the top off DRIPA. That is what instructed the court systems and the statute to look through the lens of DRIPA. When you look through the lens of DRIPA, it says go to Section 35 of the Canadian Constitution. And right there, it says Aboriginal title. There is no fee simple private property protection. That has become the issue. And I just really wanted to highlight, this is a guy that calls everyone else a racist, a bigot, extremist. David Eby needs to look himself in the mirror and realize he is the one who wrote the pocket handbook, how criminals use to get away from the justice system. Again, a guy that decriminalized drugs 2.5 grams or less, so drug dealers can sell drugs nonstop without getting punished. They just hide 2.5 grams everywhere. Then he decriminalized drugs and made them more accessible to the most vulnerable population. We have a real issue in British Columbia. We have let the other side, the NDP, psyop society into thinking we're extremists. They need to look in the mirror. They're the ones pushing these radical ideologies and policies onto us. And people have had enough. We need to actually be strong, be principled conservatives, and push back at this. We can't just say, you know what, it will get better. No, it doesn't get better.
No, it doesn't get better in a vacuum. We can't just take maybe some of their temporary patriotic whims at their word. We can't, maybe they've been a little bit less radical than in the elbows up phase, and yet no, they're still trying to block pipelines to market. I even think of like the public. He even petitioned against the Olympics when they came to Vancouver with that big banner saying no Olympics on stolen land. And so there's a fundamental, this is who they are, these are the radicals that they're the ones they claim to oppose. And so on the drug front, which obviously has been a disaster, anyone with half a brain knew where that was going. Mm-hmm. How would you choose to, if the leader, better tackle the law and order aspect of things, the recovery aspect of the crisis, and would you commit to opening up Riverview again and getting people into institutions instead of the sort of revolving door approach that isn't working?
Absolutely. We do need to create a new modernized Riverview where we can help people become productive members of society. I'll share something of mine. I played football. I was given painkillers, and I was very thankful there was actually someone to say, you know what, you can get better. And I did. And look at where I have become, where I am now. Yeah. Anyone can recover. People have a path forward. We need to give them that opportunity. Right now, the only opportunity they're getting is here's some safe supply and stay in your current state. We need to end that program right away. We need to build more homes and actually we need to think of out-of-prong approach here, Alexander. I see these SROs. They house people. Why not have a commercial floor downstairs where you can have a coffee shop, a print shop, a couple businesses where people can integrate and get back into getting in that workforce, becoming productive members of society? I am sick of the status quo. We need to push forward and have another way. And being of the millennial class who's been forgotten, I plan to speak up for my generation. I plan to speak up for the conversations I have with my peers.
Yeah, like a kind of work release program. I think that'd be incredibly smart because you can't just be constantly sending people back. First and foremost, you shouldn't give them the product of their own demise to begin with, but then you're just sending them back out into the same conditions that create it over and over and over again. And next thing you know, a city like Vancouver is its law and its order is seemingly at the behest of a small group of super offenders. If you actually look at the numbers, if you took a couple dozen particularly bad apples off the street, and some of those circumstances are tragic, things could actually change overnight.
What we need to also do in BC as a government is advocate for change. If there's judges that are doing this, we need to advocate to make sure we replace those judges or get some change there. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of things that we need to do here, and we need to be proactive. And you look at like with the gun crime now, it was the Liberal government that got rid of the 5-year minimum for illegal handguns. We need a premier. I understand it's a federal jurisdiction, but as a premier in British Columbia, if you're not going to raise the alarm and ring the bells, no one's going to listen to you. It's exactly what's happening to David Eby. He just stays silent and he gets neglected on the federal front. We don't have a pipeline coming to our coast now. It's because of him. And one more thing, I really want to talk about is the resources. We have a historical opportunity here in British Columbia with mining. And another thing too is we need to take seriously of getting a rail system developed, because that is going to be the future to creating revenue in this province. Grays Bay, which no one talks about in the territories, is going to be a deep way passage to the Asia market. And if we have mining started now and we develop these railroads, we can get our products to market soon as the mines become active. That is key. We missed the boat on LNG when Japan beat us. Now they're getting quarterly analytics and data. They're realizing what is your short-term, midterm, and long-term success. So you know where to carve out, where to focus on. We're not there yet. We need to get there, Alexander. Otherwise, we're going to be left in the dust again, and our resources are going to become reserves to the world.
Yeah, and you're uniquely situated to be an expert on this as the transport critic. And I wanted to close with a question in regards to that role, because you are a successful veteran of the trucking industry. I was reading about your family's role in it. It's wonderful, a great thing to celebrate. Blue collar guy in, I believe, heavy load. And yet, we have seen, particularly in long haul over the last few years, some of that originating out of British Columbia, a real problem in our trucking industry. A Sam Cooper report for the Bureau on Monday. We just had a couple busted on the highway in Saskatchewan carrying enough fentanyl to wipe out a small town. Their charges were dropped. what the heck can BC do better? Where could the BC Conservatives, if they are to form government, our highways are in turmoil. What the heck can we do?
If it isn't overpasses, if it isn't the smuggling issue, there's always something going on here. And a huge problem of this is immigration.
Yeah.
Let's actually face the elephant in the room. You have temporary foreign worker programs where people get brought into this country, LMIs, which they pay to come here. It's supposed to be the employer pays the $35,000 or whatever, but they're going on recruiting trips, bringing people here, making them pay for it. And you know what happens later on when they become permanent residents? This is something that I went to the Federal Transport Committee. I was asked to come there, and it actually led to some law changes. And I'm really proud of the work that I did at that committee, because what we highlighted is the Drivers Inc. program, where someone can start a business as they don't own equipment. They're a driver, but they're a business. So you're collecting business-to-business payments. You're not paying to the CPP, the income tax, and everything else that goes with it. And it was a huge cog. And that actually has been changed now by the federal government after I gave a testimony explaining to them how people are being abused with this system, with the immigration, the LMIs. And back to your question about what are we doing? This is why we need to get our rail systems going. There is a huge exodus in trucking in the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to be massive. And we're not going to be able to... Do you want to carry on the ways of doing LMIs and temporary foreign workers?
Yeah,
I don't think we do.
No.
Yeah, no, we don't. We need to get serious about this and start building some rail. That will actually help our major routes to get product and service and people trying to get to work in their daily life in a way faster manner. And that is what I want to see is we have to stop this immigration that's coming in. It is destroying every facet of our society here. And we need to get a hold on it like Quebec. We need immigration in certain ways. Justin Trudeau and David Eby used to say, hey, we got these worker permits, we're going to bring in laborers, and we're going to build homes fast. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
What they did is they brought 100 laborers in. They didn't realize, hey, we need 5 guys that can pave roads, 10 guys that can do concrete work, 15 electricians, 12 plumbers, and, make your way up what you actually need. A guy that can operate a piece of machinery. But we brought in 100 people that can just hold shovels. Our tax dollars then were sifted over to provide training programs. So we had foreigners get training while the kids that I went to go speak at a SFU and UBC have no dollar value put towards their training.
Yeah.
To get into a trade or skilled labor.
No, nicely said. It's been an excuse to sort of spam the low wage sort of caste. I spoke before parliamentary committee to end last year, and I took a little bit of heat from somebody on a fellow giving testimony saying, well, I need all these people to staff up my firm. And I'm like, I can appreciate that. If they're an upside down underwater welder, I want to hear about it. That's a hard skill to go get.
Yeah.
But it's like you have thousands of young men right now in and around your riding who want to work, who are ready to work, and they have not been subsidized to do so. Like we have we're just, if we worry about our next generation, you're a dad, if we're concerned about, the UBC, SFU, Trinity Western crowd, you were just speaking to them. There need to be pathways to success for young Canadians. There needs to be upward social responsibility, like upward anything. So,
And one more thing I really want to touch up, it goes back to the DRIPA and a lot of the land claims. The governments always tell us we learn from our mistakes. They clearly learned nothing with the new Musqueam deal. A lot of stuff is being floated out there, but you know what could have mitigated a lot of the talk around it? If they had put it in the deal that private property, fee simple property is exempt. But that shows you one thing, and it is an alarming thing. This government, whether it be the federal Liberals or the NDP, do not learn from their mistakes. We need change on the federal and provincial end, and it cannot come soon enough.
Well said. Harman, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being the first guest on our leadership series, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much for having me, Alexander. Carry on fighting the good fight.
Our pleasure. Thank you.